Hi and welcome to BookTube with Amy. Today is going to be my most recent weekly wrap up. So I read Dead Over Heels by Charlaine Harris. This is the 5th book in the Aurora Tea Garden series, and I read it as part of my Into the Library read along that I am hosting with Ange over at Angie's Book Chatter. Some mixed views on this one. I did enjoy it, but the series is a bit meh, I think is the best way to describe it. So in this one, Ro is relaxing in the back, enjoying some sunshine, and out the back is our garden, by the way. We just say out the back in Scotland, but I appreciate that that's no universal. So she's in her garden out the back, and she's just relaxing, having a nice wee summer's day, and then a body falls via a plane over into her garden, and so she gets involved and is trying to solve the mystery as to who it was, who killed them, why they killed them, etc, etc. I'm not going to talk about my thoughts too much on this here because we will obviously have the live show for this, but the wrap up and resolution of this book really let me down, I feel, and I really am not liking Aurora's relationship with Martin in here, and so this ended up being a 4-star overall. I still did like Charlaine Harris's writing, and I did enjoy the story, just not as much as some of the others that I've read at this point. And then while we're on the subject of Ange, I then read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this was the Fiction Addiction book club pick for May, and this is the book club that I host with Ange. I'll leave the Discord link below in case anybody's wanting to check it out, and if anybody's wanting to join, we do poll picks for how we pick books each month, and it's a bit of a range of genres, to be honest, that we've been reading. Anything that particularly sounds interest to me and Ange, we're just like, right, we'll put that on the list for the book club. This is a gothic horror, slightly literary fiction maybe, and it's been on both of your radars for quite a wee while. And I managed to get it last year, so we're like, that's definitely a book club pick. And I had mixed feelings on this one. I feel like the first half of the book, to be honest, is just really, really dull. It's quite an atmospheric book, so it's very heavy on the description side of things. I tend really not to vibe well with that, and so I just found it very dull. I didn't find that the descriptions were leading for it to be very atmospheric to me, because I was just like, can we hurry up? I just want to know what is happening. I feel like our main character, Noemi, in this was very, very annoying. I didn't always agree with her decision making, and she often came across as just being obstinate for the sake of it and being quite stroppy and doing things because it suited her more than it maybe suited the situation, and so she wasn't really finding things out at the pace that I personally would have liked. And then the last bit of this book, we get the reveal, but it's just a bit dull, and I didn't feel like it really ramped up the horror element in here, to be honest. I feel like the concept of what the reveal was quite scary. The concept of the reveal was quite scary, but it was more scary in theory than it was in practice. I don't feel like there was actually any on-page horror here. It was just a bit gross at points, and I was like, alright, that's what it is. And then after we get the reveal, we don't really get a lot of time to find out how things happen, and I've realised over the past wee while that I'm an aftermath reader, which isn't something I knew existed, and I didn't know if this is the proper description, but it's what I've coined it as. So when a plot happens, I really like to have a decent amount of time with my characters after that, so that I can find out how they're thinking, how they're feeling, what the outcome is. And we don't really get that in this. It's sort of left at a wee bit of a cliffhanger, we don't really know what happens, and I really didn't enjoy that. I like if we maybe got the reveal a wee bit earlier, and then we had all this time with the characters afterwards, so that we can find out how this happened. And what the proper outcomes were and what the impact was on their life, and that's just because I'm such a character driven reader. I think that I feel like I need that closure. It's ended up being a 3-star for me. It was fairly middle of the road, and to be honest, I don't think it is going to be particularly memorable for me. I had another Moreno Garcia book on my wish list, was it The Beautiful Ones, and I've actually taken it off because I just don't think her writing style is for me. And then I read The Sinister Booksellers of Bath by Garth Nix, and I read this for my I seriously need to finish this challenge, as I had read the first one and was eagerly awaiting the second, because the first one was like one of my favourite books of the year that I read it. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, because seriously, like, anything the other day to me could be like Faye was born to now, so I don't really remember time. But I was anticipating this being released, and I actually got this as a NetGalley e-arc, which I was so buzzing about, so I actually started reading this before the release, but I didn't get it finished until it was actually out. So I feel like I didn't enjoy this one as much as I enjoyed the first one, and I think that there's a few different reasons why. So the first one, you're just like flung into the action right for the get-go, and while the beginning of this book is quite action-packed, there's like a big lull in the middle before we really start getting quite exciting plot again. And that lull just really made it difficult for me to want to pick this back up, and the lull made me feel a wee bit slumpy about it, which is why I didn't just devour it on NetGalley like I usually would. So I was struggling to pick this back up. However, after the lull, when the plot points start happening again, I did really enjoy the book, and I finished the rest of it in rapid succession. But that dip for me just really took away my enjoyment of the book. I think that we learn more about the world and we learn more about the magic system in this one, and Garth Nix managed to feed in like some sort of everyday stuff into being in this book, and magical realism doesn't always work for me, but I really enjoy his version of magical realism. And so we're going to get into spoiler territory here so that I can tell you my real thoughts on the book. I rated it a 3-star for anybody who wouldn't like spoilers, so it was quite a middle of the road book. Significantly enjoyed it less than the last book. But if you don't want this book to be spoiled for you, click to when I'm talking about the next one. You've been warned. So in this one we have like the Masons in it, but they are stone masons because the big bad in here is like a statue, and I thought that was really fucking awesome. Like, I was geeking out. I think that that's so cool. I like when authors do that, when they put something that is like already quite established and something that is like a bit mysterious, and there's quite like a lot of knowledge and also lack of knowledge surrounding something, so it already feels a wee bit mystical, magical maybe, and then like they use it in a situation like this. Excellent, loved it. Thought it was phenomenal. However, the things that I didn't like about this book, I just feel like we didn't get as many of the side characters as we did in the first book. In the first book, it felt like Merlin, Vivian and Susan were a proper wee trio, and I really loved that, and I loved their dynamic. In here, it felt like Susan was very much the centre focus of this story, and then Merlin and Viv were almost secondary. And I just love Merlin and Viv so much that I just wanted more and more and more of them. And I actually found Susan to be a pretty annoying protagonist in this. I feel like she, being the sole focus of this book, really did let it down a bit. And if there was to be any more in this world, I think it would really need to depend whether or no she was going to be the central focus of that. How this one ended, I don't feel like she would be, and so then maybe we'd go back to Merlin and Viv being the main protagonists, which I would enjoy a hell of a lot more. I did really enjoy this, and I feel like the conclusion wrapped up quite well. I think that this would work as a really good duology if Garth Nix decided that he wasn't going to write anymore in this world, but I definitely didn't love it as much as the first one, unfortunately. However, the sprayed edges are absolutely stunning, can we just say. And then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This This gets so much hype on BookTube, and I have been really excited to finally pick this up. This is a story about a cafe in Tokyo, and you can go into the cafe, you can travel back in time, but you can only stay there until it takes like the coffee to get cold. Before the coffee gets cold, you need to finish the cup of coffee to bring you back to the future. Well, back to the present, presumably. You can tell I don't read a lot of sci-fi, like I don't know tenses, but it's fine, it's okay. This was such a lovely wee read. It's set up like 4 different stories, but obviously set within the same cafe, and so we get some reoccurring characters, and there is some crossover in the stories as well. I really loved the way that this handled so many different topics. We get to find out why each of these people wanted to go backwards in time, and we find out like obviously what happens when they do, and then we get a wee bit of how it changed their life after, and I really liked that. This had like a proper cosy feel to it as well, because we were in this wee cafe and we got to know like the cafe workers a wee bit and how it works. It just felt like you were there and you were like in on this cool wee secret club in the cafe, and you knew what was going on, and I really loved that feel to it. It felt like everybody who came to the cafe as well was almost welcomed in and made to feel the same way, and they like obviously come back, and I really enjoyed it. I think that it handles so many different topics well, and each of the characters in here are pretty distinct and unique, and their particular state of circumstances that led them to want to go to the future were pretty unique as well. I felt like this was an emotive book for me. Like I could feel myself getting welled up at some points. I almost cried at like 2 of the stories, and then I did cry at the last story in the book. I just thought that it was really lovely, and the way that the author told these people's stories were brilliant. You really connected to them. You really got the emotional impact of what was happening to them, and I just really liked it. I feel like for it being such a short book, it was a wee bit repetitive at points, especially when it came to like the rules of the time travel. I didn't know if this was like short stories originally and they've just been like put together for a bind up, and so maybe like every story could have been read individually, therefore the author felt the need to reinforce those rules time after time. But to be honest, like that's something that I could live with. It didn't really bother me too much. I still really enjoyed the characters, and I still feel like we got enough time with them to really get how they were feeling. And I just thought this was brilliant. It was really life affirming for me. Like it was just such a lovely wee book to have picked up at the time that I did, and you know, just have these really nice positive messages like it's never too late to change, and you know, like even if they're going back in time and they're seeing somebody wouldn't change something for somebody, like they changed because of XYZ. And I just thought that was really lovely. I thought it was brilliantly done, and I feel like I really needed a book like this to just give me a wee bit of a boost and to sort of cheer me up a wee bit, and it certainly did. So my question for you is, if you could go back in time for the time it would take you to have a cup of coffee, what would you go back in time and do? Like who would you go back and see? Is there a particular conversation or something that you would like to have? And you can let me know down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you're reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!